For exam, what I'm going to have, bones just laid out right in front of you. You're going to come up to the station and probably shit yourself, okay? But what I'm going to ask, guys, identify the bone, identify the region that it is from, okay? And also the structure or part of the bone that I tag, okay? Now, over here, guys, we are looking at C1. C1 is what we call, once again, an atypical vertebrae. Why is he atypical? Because nobody else looks like him in the entire spine. Okay? Now, C1 does not have a vertebral body. However, he has what are called lateral masses. Okay? Now, for the parts that we have between my fingers, lateral masses. Now, on the lateral masses, on the superior surface, you see these highly polished areas. Those are going to be the superior articulating facets. If you flip the bone over, we have the inferior articulating facets here. Now, you're asking, well, Doc, how the hell do I know superior from inferior? Okay, guys, on the atlas, if you look at the transverse processes, they point downward. If they point upward, that's the bottom side of the bone. Okay, so the transverse processes always have a little slope downward, inferiorly. Okay, so once again, what we have, superior articulating facets, inferior articulating facets. Okay, up here we have the anterior arch, which is the small arch. On the back, we have the posterior arch, which is the wider, larger arch. Okay. Now, on the arches, you'll notice there's bumps. These are called tubercles. So this is the anterior tubercle on the anterior arch, posterior tubercle on the posterior arch. Now, another thing on the anterior arch, on the inside surface here, guys, we have another facet, another articulating surface here, and that is called the facet for the dens, because C2, which is right in my hand, articulates there. Okay, just like that. Okay. Now, rest of the parts, guys, transverse processes, and of course we have the what? Transverse foramen, okay, which makes him come from who? What region? Cervical. Okay, so know him as C1, that's his position. And he has a nickname known as Atlas. Okay. Now C2, he is also an atypical vertebrae. Why? Because he has the dens, guys. No other vertebrae has it. If he didn't have the dens, all the parts on him are the same throughout the rest of the spine. Okay. So what we have here, we have the dens. Okay. Underneath the dens, we now start with a vertebral body. So C2 starts the vertebral body. C1 doesn't have a body. Okay? Over here, superior articulating facets. Okay? Once again, look at the transverse processes. They're very stubby, guys, yet they still point downward. If you flip it over, inferior articulating facets here. Okay? Transverse foramen. Okay? Over here, guys, right where the rope is, look where I'm putting the rope, that is the pedicle. They're a pain in the butt on the cervicals because they're small. So guess what you're not going to have on this pedicle? On C2. If I have C2, what do you think I'm going to hit you with?
Dens.
The dens. He's the only one that has it. Okay? Now, we come out here, guys, to the flat spots. Those are the lamina. And then the spinous process on the back. Nickname is axis. Okay, position, cervical number 2, C2. Okay. Now, for the rest of the spine, guys, we basically just need 3 bones from different areas. I thought I had a good cervical. This guy looks good. So, guys, these are real. You can tell that they sound different, guys, when you clang them. They kind of have a different sound to them. Okay. So this is a cervical, this is a typical cervical, which means from C3 to C7, they're all the same, just they get bigger as you go down the spine. So right here, guys, where my hand is, that is the vertebral body. Okay? out here, transverse processes. Once again, you see the transverse foramen. Okay? Now, where I place this band, guys, that would be the pedicle. Okay? And once again, I won't use these for the pedicles. Use the bigger pedicles. Okay? Superior articulating facets on the bottom. Inferior articulating facets. Okay? Flat spots here, guys, these are called the lamina, and then the spinous process on the back. Okay? That's a typical vertebrae, guys, from the cervical spine. Okay? Now, we go to a thoracic. Here's a good thoracic right here, guys. This is another real one. So, once again, with the thoracics, you'll notice the transverse processes now don't have the transverse foramen. Okay? Also, guys, take a look at that vertebral body. It's going to be heart-shaped. So that's one indication that it is from the thoracic region. Also, look at it from the side, guys, and the spinous process abruptly points downward. Okay? Now, parts are all the same, guys. Vertebral body, where my fingers are. Pedicles, look how nice and easy they are now, guys. Pedicles, okay, superior articulating facets, flip the bone over, inferior articulating facets, okay, transverse processes with no transverse foramens, flat spots, lamina, and then the spinous process. Now remember, on the thoracic vertebrae, guys, we have the inclusion of the rib cage there. So if you look at the transverse processes carefully, you'll see another smooth set of facets. And these are the transverse costal facets that are located only in the thoracic spine, because that's the only area that we have ribs. Okay? Now, we go to the lumbar vertebrae. This is a little chewed up. This guy's looking all right. Lumbar vertebrae, guys, once again, if you look at the vertebral body, it's going to be very large. You'll notice it's wider again. It's not heart-shaped. Okay? And parts, guys, are all the same. Vertebral body. Now, where the strap is, once again, guys, that is the pedicles. Look how nice and big they are. Okay? There's the pedicles. Superior articulating facets. Inferior articulating facets. Flat spots, lamina, spinous process, and the transverse process will be right here. Okay? So they're all the same. Just repetitive, 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 repetitive. You guys just got to get them into your head. It's not that hard. Okay? Now, we go down to sacrum, guys. We got some really cool, real sacrums. Unfortunately, they just throw them in the same box, so they're really chipping away, guys. It's really bad. I remember this guy from years ago when I finally found the real bones, because they weren't even using them, guys. I'm the guy that pulled them out in storage. I thought these things were fabulous, you know, so much more detailed than the classic crap that we got. Also, we got some abnormalities, which I'll show you in a minute. Okay. So first thing with the sacrum, guys. We will have the base of the sacrum going across the top, okay? On our plastic one, that's the base, okay? The ala are going to be these big wing pieces, okay? So the ala are out here, okay? Now, going down the back, guys, we have, once again, the median sacral crest here, okay? Which is fusion of the spinous processes. On the sides, we have the lateral sacral crest, which is made from fusion of the transverse processes. We have our sacral foramen. Okay. Now on this, guys, you can actually see the sacral canal because it's a real bone. You see the sacral canal, guys, going right down the posterior portion of the bone. Okay. The sacral canal comes through here. Over here, guys, this area where there is no coverage, I call it the driveway. That is going to be the sacral hiatus right here. Okay? Now, down here we have an actual coccyx still attached to the bone here. These are going to be the the coccygeal cornu right here and here, guys. Horn-like structures. Here's the sacral cornu here and here. Okay. We look at the side. Take a look at that joint surface, guys. It kind of looks like a ear. So that is the auricular surface there. Okay. And then that will join with your two big ilions that make up your hip bones. Now, on the anterior side, guys, what we see here we see the transverse lines that are remnants